When Russell Brand was 16 years old, he wrote a school leaving card to his first girlfriend. It read, "You might be as famous as me one day. If so, see you at the top." Even at that age, there was no confusion in his mind about who he'd become, and it was with that confidence that he went on to build his career in the early 2000s. It was in the year 2000 that Brand showcased his comedic talent for the first time during a stand-up at the Hackney Empire New Act of the Year. He managed to finish in 4th place and attracted the attention of agents Nigel Clarfeld. That same year, he kickstarted his presenting career at MTV, hosting 2 shows airing on the channel. However, this was short-lived as Russell was fired from the job after coming to work dressed as Osama bin Laden just one day after the 9/11 attacks in 2001. Being the flamboyant, self-assured person he was, he didn't let that deter him, going on to start his own show called Brand, a British documentary and comedy program airing on TV in 2002. But it was only in 2004 that Russell started to receive recognition in the mainstream. He debuted his first one-man show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival called Better Now, where he recounted his battle with a heroin addiction. And he began presenting Big Brother's Big Mouth, the sister show to the hit reality TV program Big Brother. This marked the point that Russell's career started to gain momentum. He returned to the Edinburgh Festival in 2005 and 2006 to host his show Eroticized Humor and his first nationwide tour, Shame. In the shows, he made fun of embarrassing experiences from his past and mocked the coverage about him in the tabloid press.
The Big Brother's Big Mouth presenter, 30, has a penchant for posh blondes. I ain't got a penchant for posh blondes. That is a way of losing about 80% of your market.
Off the back of his growing success, Brand was able to reconcile with MTV in 2006, landing the presenter role for their new chat show, One Leicester Square. He welcomed various celebrity guests like Tom Cruise, Jamie Foxx, and Adam Sandler. Alongside his comedy and presenting work, Russell had taken various small acting roles over the years. For the most part, he played minor characters on low-budget British TV shows. That was until December 2007 when he starred in his first major film role as Flash Harry in St. Trinian's. The movie received mixed reviews, but it became one of the highest-grossing independent British films in decades. It was also this year that Brand published his first autobiography, which was largely met with positive reviews. The book spilled all the details on Brand's tumultuous life of drugs and debauchery, leaving no stone unturned. One newspaper wrote that it was better written and more entertaining than any number of the celebrity autobiographies that clogged the shelves of our bookshops. Meanwhile, his stand-up career was going from strength to strength as he kicked off his second nationwide tour. To add the cherry on the cake, Russell hosted both the Brit Awards and Comic Relief, and he closed out an already successful year by performing in front of the royal family in the 2007 Royal Variety performance. Surely he couldn't top this, right? Well, in 2008, Brand was selected to present the MTV Video Music Awards. This drew skepticism from American media as he was still relatively unknown in the US. The event sparked heavy controversy as Brand made several provocative comments while presenting. The most outrageous of these was when he called the former president, George Bush, a retarded cowboy fella who wouldn't be trusted with a pair of scissors in England. And with Brand being the promiscuous man he was, he also took the opportunity to poke fun at the Jonas Brothers for their purity rings. The quip didn't go down well with singer Jordan Sparks, who also wore a purity ring at the time. She took to the stage to fire back at Brand for his comments.
Alright, I just have one thing to say about promise rings. It's not bad to wear a promise ring because not everybody, guy or girl, wants to be a slut. Alright, so anyway.
Shortly after this, Brand apologized to the Jonas Brothers while on stage, saying he didn't mean to offend them. Despite the apology, he received several death threats following the event. But in classic fashion, Russell made fun of the threats, saying if you plan on killing someone, don't give them advance notice. In the end, the viewership figures for the show were 20% up on the previous year, which didn't go unnoticed at MTV. Even with all the controversy, they invited Russell back to host the event again in 2009 in hopes of achieving similar growth. This made history as no one had hosted the event for 2 years running before. For Russell, this was music to his ears. It was generally expected that he would once again be the most controversial figure of the night, but fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, Kanye West decided to relieve him of that duty.
Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
At this stage, Brand was building a name for himself in the US. Not only had he hosted the VMAs for 2 consecutive years, but he'd starred in the hit romantic comedy movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He was cast alongside Jason Segel, Kristen Bell, and Mila Kunis, playing the charismatic English rock star Aldous Snow. The film performed well in the US and received solid reviews from critics. Brand's character was a fan favorite, which ultimately led to the making of a spin-off movie centered around Aldous. Called Get Him to the Greek, the spin-off premiered just 2 years later in 2010, starring Russell Russell alongside his co-star Jonah Hill. While the movie wasn't as successful as Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it still raked in $93 million in ticket sales. In this time, he also starred alongside Adam Sandler in Disney's Bedtime Stories and voiced Dr. Nefario in the release of Despicable Me. With these projects under his belt, alongside several smaller movies he'd worked on, Russell was shaping up to be a big star in Hollywood, and his fame was about to reach new heights, but not because of his acting career. September 2008, Russell met Katy Perry at the 2008 VMAs. He asked her to film a cameo for Get Him to the Greek, which she accepted. The pair met for the second time on set, where they filmed a scene together. Although the cameo didn't make it into the movie, they hit it off during their time filming. Soon after meeting again at the 2009 VMAs, they officially announced they were a couple. Like any whirlwind Hollywood romance, they wasted no time moving their relationship along. Just 3 months after they got together, the pair got engaged. During 2010, Katy's career was in full swing. She'd already gained massive popularity from her song I Kissed a Girl in 2008, and in 2010 she released the album Teenage Dream, which featured wildly successful songs like Last Friday Night and Firework. Brand's relationship with Katy took his celebrity status to another level, and although he didn't know it at the time, this would be the height of his fame. Their relationship was a media frenzy, with their faces on the cover of every popular magazine. But it didn't take long before the celebratory headlines turned to rumors of a breakup. Despite both Russell and Katy denying the breakup rumors in November 2011, Russell filed for divorce just 1 month later, citing irreconcilable differences. Reportedly, Brand, who at the age of 36 had left his party lifestyle behind, wanted to stay at home and start a family, while Perry, who was 25, wanted to party and have fun when she wasn't busy touring. So almost as quickly as their relationship started, it came to a crashing end, and their divorce was finalized in July 2012. Much of Russell's life and career up to this point was shaped by his difficult childhood and adolescence. Born an only child of Barbara Elizabeth and Ronald Henry Brand, Russell grew up lonely and misunderstood. His parents split when he was only 6 months old, and he was raised by his single mother. At the age of 7, he was sexually abused by one of his tutors, but things got worse for him when he turned 8, as his mother was diagnosed with uterine cancer. The following year, she was also diagnosed with breast cancer, and Russell was forced to live with relatives while she underwent treatment. His troubles followed him into his teenage years, where he started suffering from bulimia age 14. At school, Russell's first acting performance was as Fat Sam in Bugsy Malone. His theatre performances eventually led to a scholarship at the Italia Conti Academy of Theatre Arts, one of the UK's top acting schools. After turning 16 in 1991, his dad took him on a trip to Thailand, where he immediately hired 3 sex workers, 2 for him and 1 for Russell. The experience deeply affected Russell, and it developed into a habit that he kept for many years. 1991 was also the year Russell left home due to disagreements with his mum's new partner. This was when he began using illegal drugs, which eventually led to him being expelled from his theatre school just 1 year after he started. Over the course of the 90s, he managed to pick up a few small TV roles, but he was still heavily addicted to drugs. And it wasn't until December 2002 that he finally got sober. Fast forward to 2012 after a split from Katy Perry, and Russell began taking a different direction with his life, throwing himself into more political and spiritual pursuits. In June, Brand was chosen by the Dalai Lama to host the Buddhist leader's 2012 youth event in Manchester. Reportedly, Brand was chosen because he'd proved the power of spirituality to effect change in his own life. That same year, Russell testified before a parliamentary committee about drug addiction, calling for the decriminalisation of drugs in the UK. Just a year later, he appeared on Newsnight, where he condemned the British political system and encourage the public not to vote.
If you can't be asked to vote, why should we be asked to listen to your political point of view?
You don't have to listen to my political point of view, but it's not that I'm not voting out of apathy. I'm not voting out of absolute indifference and weariness and exhaustion from the lies, treachery, deceit of the political class that has been going on for generations.
But it was in 2014 Russell made the decision that would most influence the future of his career. On February 27th, he launched a YouTube series called The Truths. The videos featured Brand giving his take on current affairs, as well as episodes where he responded to comments left by his viewers. He regularly had guests on the show, even interviewing British politician Ed Miliband in one episode. By the end of 2014, he'd uploaded 223 episodes to his channel, and it was clear he had a taste for it. There were next to no barriers from the point a thought struck him to when he could share it with his followers. He continued releasing episodes until August 2015, when he posted a video titled "Final Episode of The Truths. Goodbye, good luck." In the video, Brand announced he'd be taking a a break from social media to spend time on his own learning.
To be continued. We started with a bad pun. We ruined the general election.
Russell Brand's a joke.
We antagonised Fox News.
Scruff bucket, Russell Brand.
We brought about change. We brought new conversations to the table. But we will be ending on a bad pun. To be continued.
At this point, Russell's acting career had taken a turn towards on and off voice acting work. His stand-up career had been quiet since his Messiah Complex tour back in 2013, and since that year he'd also hardly done any presenting. Now even his work as an author was geared towards his political and spiritual ideology. While he would go on to do some more acting and stand-up work, his focus would recenter on YouTube, where he would put most of his effort in the coming years. In October 2016, 1 year and 2 months after ending the Trues, Russell made his return to the series. Less than 5 months later, he launched a video audio podcast called Under the Skin, where he interviews a variety of guests from the world of academia, pop culture, and the arts. Some of his notable guests include Jordan Peterson, Darren Brown, and Tony Robbins. While Brand has continued producing the podcast to this day, the Trues finally met its end in December 2018.
Now, you were used to the Trues, weren't you? But look at what's happened in the world of politics since I started getting involved. And I'm certainly not taking the credit or the blame for what's been happening, but the world's gone mental. My focus now is much more on the spiritual and the universal, how we can change the world by changing us ourselves.
Russell was a family man now with a wife and 2 daughters. He'd moved out to the countryside away from the noise of metropolitan life, and with that came a shift in his mindset. His videos became more self-reflective, and there was a noticeable shift in their tone and feel. In contrast to the urgent delivery Russell had on the Trues, he now spoke using a calmer, more soothing tone. Along with the change of direction on his channel, Brand had made a clear change to his appearance. He'd grown out his beard, which compared to his previous looks gave off an air of wisdom and experience. His videos covered everything from dealing with grief to practicing self-love and acceptance. Viewers were connecting with the new content and Russell's channel was growing, but it was in 2020 where things began to change.
We have a new name for the coronavirus. The World Health Organization has officially called it COVID-19.
The scenario health officials had worried about, now they are grappling with the most vulnerable being exposed to the virus.
Today, the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
So it's vital to slow the spread of the disease. You must stay at home.
COVID vaccines, skepticism or trust, 1.1 million views. Is the pandemic being used to mask a wealth and power transfer? 1.5 million views. Vaccine gold rush, do you trust Gates? 1.9 million views. With the controversial topics came a surge in viewership. Russell was returning to his days of dissecting current affairs, but many began to take issue with his messages around COVID vaccinations. Numerous videos on the subject encouraging people to do their own research or to look beyond what the government is telling them led many to believe he's anti-vax. However, Russell has never openly said he is.
The difficulty here is that this is not straight up anti-vax. He's encouraging anti-vax people to become more anti-vax. I'm not saying he's doing it on purpose, but he is. He hints one way while claiming to be neutral, but clearly he's not objective.
Russell has also come under scrutiny for his coverage of the war in Ukraine. Similar to his COVID content, he uses alarming video titles that point towards some conspiracy or cover-up. Some of his recent videos are titled, "They want war and they're not Russian. They don't want you looking into this. You couldn't make this shit up." His videos typically take the format of reading and discussing some article or news report, with Russell taking an extremely skeptical view of what's reported in mainstream media, and he addresses his viewers as if they're equally as distrustful.
Hello there, you 5.3 million awakening wonders. We're together on a journey right now. We cannot be stopped. Keep evolving, keep awakening. Don't let them shut you down or close you down or prevent this communication from happening. Whoever you are, whatever flaws you may have, I know there's a journey back for all of us together, that we can do something constructive if we stay awake, if we stay focused, if we stay strong.
In recent months, his contentious views have made him a target for major news outlets. Articles published by both The Telegraph and The Independent in March 2022 paint Russell out to be a washed-up comedian turned YouTube conspiracy theorist. The Telegraph wrote that Brand never clearly nails down his own views, discussing conspiracies so as to skirt accusations of being a conspiracist. And The Independent went so far as to write, "With his beard, long hair, and loose-fitting wide-neck shirts, it's hard to shake the sense that there's something cultish about Brand's whole presentation." Unsurprisingly, Russell had something to say about this.
The establishment and the mainstream media are coming for me and coming for this channel, saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, a right-wing nut, and an anti-vaxxer. If you don't think that I'm those things, and I don't think that I'm those things, could there be any other reason why the mainstream media and establishment want to shut down open discourse and dissent?
Following the drama, many have come to Brand's defense. Elon Musk tweeted, "With so many mainstream media companies saying Russell Brand is crazy and dangerous, I watched some of his videos. Ironically, he seemed more balanced and insightful than those condemning him. The groupthink among major media companies is more troubling. There should be more dissent." And perhaps there should. Perhaps Russell's urge to question the establishment and form his own opinions is something we could all learn from. At least his 5.7 million subscribers seem to think so. But the fact is, Brand is a polarizing character, something he was long before he started making videos on YouTube. And with his consistently controversial talking points, it's no wonder that his content is so divisive. There's no doubt that his clickbaity titles and thumbnails attract a certain type of crowd, but with upwards of 1 million people viewing many of his videos, this points toward widespread disillusionment with mainstream news. In any case, whatever people's opinion on Brand is, he doesn't appear to be going anywhere anytime soon.